My name is Jonathan Gilliam, and this is The Experts. And hello, everybody. This is Jonathan Gilliam, and as always, the truth has arrived. And I usually, this is going to sound really creepy, but I usually do this show at about 5 in the morning. For those of you that listen to the show, I record it at 5 in the morning after staying up all night and doing research alone in my apartment. So tonight I have 1, 2, 3, 4 incredible men that are going to be here with me talking. We are up in the mountains of Sedona. Are these considered mountains of Sedona? We're about a mile up in Sedona, and we're expecting ghosts or chihuahuas or roosters to appear any moment now, because I guess Sedona has a reputation of being spirit-filled or some interesting stuff that goes on here. But right across the street, or no, not across. I was thinking that was over the, like there was a fence there, but the roosters are right there, along with the chihuahua, who seems to be intimidating the roosters right now. So we're going to talk about all this stuff. I figured tonight we'll give you a little bit of a break from the news, because the news is the same pretty much every day. I did want to play this soundbite, though, from CNN with Don Lemon and Chris Cuomo. This really is like a comedy skit normally when they play. And I'll be honest with you, I have not heard this yet, so I'm going to go ahead and play it right now. Let's see if it comes up.
No matter what happens, everybody sticks with their team.
We're going to have to blow up the entire system. And you know what we're going to have to do?
Okay, first of all, why do they keep using words like I'm going to blow up the system? Have you guys noticed that they say they're going to burn it down or blow it up? They're using these things too much, these different phrases in conjunction with being upset because Ruth Bader Ginsburg died. I mean, it's not like the president loses his authority when the Democrats say. So let me keep playing this.
You know what we're going to, what you have to do?
You just got to vote.
Honestly, from what your closing argument is, you're going to have to get rid of the Electoral College. Because
that's another thing they want to do. They just want to get rid of the Electoral College. They want to do whatever they have to. This is what the Democrats think. If we don't get in office, we're just going to change the system so that we get in office. They don't realize it's like they're brainwashed, and they don't believe that they are a part of a system. I mean, that's the way communists think. I'm going to get you guys' take on this here in just a second, but let me keep going through here.
The people,
I don't see it.
Because the minority in this country decides who the judges are, and they decide who the president is.
But you need a constitutional amendment.
So he's breaking this down to a minority thing now. That's the way Don Lemon sees his color and everything. Should be Lemon is what he should be seeing, but or Lemon. Whenever somebody tries to make Don Lemon sound smart, they call him Lemon.
To do that.
And if Joe Biden wins, Democrats can stack the courts, and they can do that amendment, and they can get it passed.
Well, you need two-thirds vote in the Congress and 3/4 of the state legislatures.
They may be able to do that.
Maybe. No matter what.
But why? Why would you see? That's the thing about the Democrat Party and about people. They don't understand. I don't know what's happened over the past 10, 15 years, but people have forgotten that we have a thing called the Constitution. It was written by men that were fleeing tyranny and fought to win the freedom that we have with this perfect document that's very, very short. And it lays it out perfectly what we need and why we need it. But these individuals like this, they think that we have to, if they don't have what they want in government, they feel like you should be able to change it so you have it. And that's not the way that freedom works. That's not the way the system works. I tell you what, instead of me introducing you guys so you can discuss this a little bit, and then we'll talk about Sedona. We'll start with, Paul, we'll start with you. Tell me who you are, because I have no idea who you are. Tell me who you are. I'm kidding. Tell everybody about who you are and what you do, and yeah, go ahead.
I'm Paul Pawela. Thank you for having me on. I'm the Director of Law Enforcement Training for the National Association of Chiefs of Police.
It almost sounded like you said Jesus is police. Chiefs of police, right?
Chiefs of police.
Yeah.
But Jesus is police. So
that's right.
We'll take that.
Is it just me, or is Paul slurring his words? When did this happen? What happened? Okay, go ahead, Derik.
I'm Derik Hulsebus. I work for the state. I'm teaching firearms for about 34 years. I work with adults and kids.
Derik likes to play the drums when he talks, so let's not do that again. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm Chris Spannagel, and I'm a business owner in Arizona and have done many things with my business and for my business and the people that work around me, and I really enjoy what I do and how I do it. So just a person that's here working towards a goal.
Yeah, I love talking. Let's talk about some other stuff right now. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead, Brian.
Thank you for the beautiful introduction, Jonathan.
Yeah, you got it.
I'm Brian Kovacs. I'm the
and by the way, this is not who do I always say you sound like?
Tony Robbins.
Tony sounds just like Tony Robbins on a microphone. Go ahead.
I just want to let you know you're looking very confident tonight.
Thank you.
I have complete faith in you. This will be a great show.
Thank you, Tony Robbins, except he spells it Toni.
So I'm Brian Kovacs. I'm the founder of Talking Guns, and we are exercising our first to protect the second.
That's a great phrase. Where did you come up with that?
It's just been our catchphrase for a while.
Yeah.
So okay. I thought of it one night while I was drunk.
I'd say
someone may have been involved in the thought process.
Could have been.
But I don't know.
That's what happens. See, everybody always criticizes me because I'm a late night. I stay up all night, but that's when the creativity flows, is when everybody else goes to sleep. But go ahead.
Very much so. So we go ahead.
And you guys, well, some of you have been associated with law enforcement and the prison system and all these things. You were associated with the prison system, and you have an incredible take on the reality of people and how they think. I mean, this is a very well-rounded group here because you've seen people at their worst. You've seen people at their best. You've seen what happens in business when politicians aren't taking your best interest at heart. It's their best interest at heart. Although I will say in Arizona, if you were running your business in New York, it'd be totally different. You know, you can actually live and run a business here, you know.
There's no doubt.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
So what do you guys think about, let's start with this real quick, and we'll get into Sedona and that stuff, but am I right or am I not right when I talk, because I know I'm right, when I talk about Don Lemon and we talk about the nonsense of how the left, I love that soundbite because it really does, it points out exactly the way they think. We think we should be in charge, and if they're not in charge, they want to change the system.
Can I just say one thing?
No.
I thought lemon was a car that was bad.
Lemon, yeah, it is.
So
exactly.
I just want to throw that out there.
But as a business owner, you know, when you come up with a successful idea, if somebody else wants to run the business differently, you don't change the whole process so that they can have what they want.
No, sir. What you do is you come in and you come on top of that, and you take from that what you can and what you will. Maybe just take the whole thing, and then you put what you have on top of that, yourself, and then make it better if it works that way.
Better. That's the key to it, not mine.
Better.
Yeah. Who's next? Go ahead. Paul?
Well, I think Nikita Khrushchev.
Somebody shake Paul. Go ahead.
Nikita Khrushchev came to the United Nations, pounded his shoe on the table and said, I'm going to take this country over without firing a shot.
Yeah.
And he did that through colleges and education. From the colleges, they went to the high schools. And we've had about 3 generations now under communist doctrine. And, you know, and that's what they're all under right now. And they think it's great. Only problem is they've never lived in it.
Yeah. You know, I was, I guest hosted for Sean Hannity and David Webb and Andrew Wilkow and Gorka, and I'd have, I'm not going to go into great detail, but I had Tracy Belmonte on one of the shows, and it was on Hannity, I'm going to tell you that, when I was hosting, and we did a whole quarter of the show about the indoctrination of the education system and how people are being indoctrinated to communism. And this was a year and a half ago. You know, I'd been screaming communism for 6-7 years. And since I got out of the FBI, it became very apparent. I've done shows and talked about that. But in this case, it wasn't well liked because we talked about that stuff. In fact, the comment was a lot of what you said is conspiracy theory. And that's the way a lot of people were thinking as short as a year and a half ago. They thought communism was conspiracy theory. They don't realize how quickly it spins up and what happens once communism starts the move. They've kind of been surprised by that because this has primarily been a takeover an ideological takeover using education. It's been a culmination of what they've tried to do in other countries for years. I think because of social media and computers and cell phones, they were able to do what they've done now. And so, you know, Tracy came under a tremendous amount of fire, and it's interesting because when you look at what everybody talks about in the radio now, and I'm talking about all the main hosts, this is what they're talking about. This is what the sound bites are. We're Marxists. We're communists. We're proud of it. You look at what Don Lemon's saying there. That is a communist Marxist technique. Anybody else?
These people are crazy.
Yeah.
Flat crazy.
Well, you can also just simplify it by saying that.
I don't understand any part of this, because what happens in this is that you take everything that you are and you give it to somebody else.
Yeah.
Why? Why would you do that? Do you think about that just on a simple term? You got a neighbor. Would you take your house and your stuff and give it to them?
Mm-mm. You know what?
Have them share it with somebody else?
I just did a tweet a minute ago, and the tweet said that living in a big city is like being an adult and moving back home with your parents, but you have a parent that has a secret life and would sell you if needed. That's what it's like when you live in a city. And people in the city, they don't realize that, and they think that everybody else in the country should live like they do. That they shouldn't worry about owning a gun or protecting this, because they're going to be protected. And here in Sedona,
that's a load of shit.
Yeah, yeah, no, exactly. So, and it's the way, in Arkansas where my mom lives. You call a sheriff's department. Well, first of all, Van Buren County Sheriff's Department in Arkansas is worthless, and the sheriff there is got to be one of the most worthless law enforcement entities I've ever come in contact with. You call the sheriff's department there, they actually may not come.
Yeah. Well, so here, just a local thing that's happened. My wife accidentally dialed 911 not too long ago, and it was fantastic because we were all laughing about it. But she went to go pick up her daughter at the place where her daughter was at, and the sheriff's department showed up at my house and said, "Hey, we got a call." And I said, "Okay. What was that about?" "Well, we don't know. Can we come in?" I said, "No." "Well, where's your wife?" I said, "She went to go pick up her daughter."
Interesting.
Here we go.
Yeah. Well, they always have to respond to a call. How long did it take them to get there?
In rural area here, really about 5.5 minutes.
That's good,
really
actually.
Fantastic.
Here. Yeah.
That's an amazing response time.
Yeah, because if it would have been, if the other way around, had you cut your head almost completely off, accidentally, of course, and your wife called 911, it'd probably take them 30, 40 minutes to get here at that point.
I would believe that without a doubt.
Anybody else?
No, I was going to go back to what you were saying is I got two things I think as to why these people are coming out and they feel so brazen to do so in public and say, "Hey, I'm for communism. Hey, I'm a Marxist. Hey, I'm part of this organization that are anarchists." I think it's because, number one, parents haven't spanked their kids in a long time.
Oh, yeah.
So there's been no discipline in the households. And, that's, I think, one of the big things. It doesn't give kids any kind of a reason for them to stay in line. And then the other reason is you have
Brian tried to spank Paul a little while ago for being bad, but
I did.
He did. Yeah,
I was semi-successful.
Go ahead.
And number two, I think it's also because of the power of the teachers' unions. They can actually get things done, and they're completely run by the Democratic Party. And when you have teachers that are teaching what is, we'll call it a prescribed education, that this is what you are going to do, this is how you're going to change things, it's a recipe for disaster. And now this is the disaster that we have to deal with in these urban areas, where they're tearing stuff down and they're lighting things on fire. I mean, I didn't know that arson of an occupied structure wasn't a crime anymore. I didn't
know that you could. Okay, is it just me, or was, let's say 5 years or even 2 years ago, if you went out and did a protest somewhere where you didn't have the paperwork to go do it, what do you call that?
A permit
to go do it. Yeah. And you went and protested somewhere, you would get disturbing the peace or whatever. You get arrested.
Right, disorderly conduct.
Now, what do? They go to Mitch McConnell's house. They go to Tucker Carlson's house and eventually force Tucker Carlson to move. When did this become a thing? Paul? Derik?
So, I don't know. I don't know when this became a thing, but legally they should have been in jail now all of a sudden the Democrats are backing it up and they're funding it and whatever, and everybody can get away with whatever they want.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
So in the legal system, how much? Let me ask you this, okay? We know the Department of Education is completely corrupted. We know that law enforcement in and of itself is unable to do its job, and in many cases has the chiefs and the sheriffs and the attorney generals have been stacked with not just liberals, with leftists. In the actual jail system, what is it like now when it comes to how these people are policed inside the jail? Are they even held to a standard? Is it like it was before where, they're in jail, or is it completely different? Because I heard we had Emily on here before who, if you get a chance to go listen to her story, I think I'll have to look up which one it was, but incredible because she got out after being in prison in Illinois and has now become an advocate for police. And she said that they all have iPads.
Yeah, they all have iPads now. They get away with a lot more than what they used to. They have open yards. Their discipline is a lot less than what it used to be. They have more capabilities of making. They basically get to do a lot more things than what they used to. They literally have game Xboxes now, to where they can go out there and play games.
Wow.
I mean, it's better to live off in prison than it is to be a homeless person on the street.
Hey, Brian, can you explain to Derik how to use a microphone?
Sorry.
I will work on that on the break. But we're talking about prison here too. We're not talking about jail where you're, just waiting for trial or anything like that. We're talking about murderers, child rapists, carjackers, serial killers. This is what you're dealing with, and you're giving them iPads, which gives them access to their victims because they learn how to hack into the system, and then they contact their victims and terrorize their victims all over again.
You've actually heard of that?
Yes, and there's no accountability for it. It's here in Arizona. So I can tell you for a fact that it's a recipe for disaster. And yes, they are rewarded with iPods. They give them ice cream. They give them how many other different kinds of fast food and things like that, where they're giving to these inmates that are in there for life, that are hardened criminals, but yet they get more rights than the average, person on the street. And
they absolutely get more rights than the person on the street. They're getting to do a lot of things that the officers, if the officers try and do, they're held to disciplinary level.
Like what?
Well, if you try to kind of enforce anything, or if you try to punish them, or, they will always challenge it, and most of the administration will not back you up, so you're not going to win.
See, this is what's weird about all this is that, so it's infiltrated, like even in the SEAL teams, at the highest levels in the DOD, it is a bunch of leftists, and they're trying to ruin. You ask Eddie Gallagher about this. They're ruining the brotherhood and the Spartan lifestyle and the way we work. The Army has tremendous problems with it. Now in the Army, they have gotten rid of. The chihuahua was licking my toe. That scared me to death. I thought there was something. It's Arizona. You never know when a scorpion's going to crawl across your foot. So now in Army, they can't do the swarm when the drill instructor swarms somebody and they just go off on them, and there's 5 drill instructors on them. They can't do that no more. So it's like wherever the leftists have gotten in, they've ruined boot camp. They've ruined the law enforcement's ability to do their job. They've ruined the politics in general, the ability to for people to live freely, because they've canceled people because they don't like the pizza place that I went to in Long Island. I forgot.
Pizza?
What is it? Patio Pizza. Patio Pizza. They just lost their liquor license. They just took their liquor license from. I was just there 2-3 weeks. No, I was there about a month ago. Love guy. He's the guy I'm gonna have him on here. But now they're having to do a GoFundMe because they don't have a liquor license. It is pizza place now. Why? Well, they say it's because people were going there and they weren't adhering to the mask rule. But if people show up to his business and they're not adhering to it, I mean, that's adults making decisions for themselves. So anyway, they ruin everything they get into, even the ability to discipline people in a prison. It sounds like they're spoiling these people.
First off, here's the problem. It's not a law. So the representatives of that state didn't vote on that. That is not entered in as a law. Neither.
What is? What are you talking?
The mask.
Oh yeah,
thing.
yeah. But that's
It's
everywhere. It's a
merely an
mandate.
advisory. It's an advisory from the governor. And this is the problem: is people need to learn the difference between what's a law and what's a suggestion.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you're driving down the road and you see a black and white speed limit sign and it says 35, and then you're going around a turn and you see a yellow sign and it says 25. That's an advisory. It doesn't mean you have to do 25. It means it's suggested.
Right.
You're not going to get a ticket for doing 35 around that.
Well, in New
turn.
York, they're going and closing stuff down.
Yeah, it's absolutely absurd.
It's interesting because the only place it's happening really is where conservatives gather, and it's usually when they gather to celebrate Trump. Although in New York, they have their equal opportunity where they've gone and they had, Fire Island and off Long Island is very gay, and they had a huge thing out on the beach and people were dancing. They shut the whole thing down. You can't go back out there now. I mean,
Unbelievable. At what point in time did we allow officials of the state to shut down private businesses at will? When did that occur?
Yeah.
I mean, we're not talking about a code enforcement issue here. We're not talking about they're doing something illegal. This isn't an illegal operation. They're not making or manufacturing drugs. They're not smuggling humans.
If people are literally getting arrested and their business killed because they want to work and feed people.
And the Democrats are picking and choosing which businesses they want to close. They want to close the churches, but they want to let Home Depot and Lowe's continue. They want to let the airlines continue, or the airlines continue.
Pack cruise lines.
You're going to stop it in Lowe's by having everybody mask up, but you can't go to church or you can't go to other group functions.
Yeah, packed airplane with 240 people on it, but you can't have more than 50 people in a church. I mean, this is... Every day when I get up and I read the headlines, I'm astounded at what I'm seeing, in that nobody is making a ruckus about this. The only people that make a ruckus in this nation are people on the left when they don't get what they want, like Don Lemon saying we'll burn it down, we'll tear it down because they didn't get elected, they're not getting their way.
They're getting the attention because they have the media's attention, and they are the extension of the media of what they want to see and what they feel the people should see, so that they see that reality and not what's really going on.
Yeah.
But the other problem is that the Republicans or the conservatives in this country have no organization. They seem to lately have no spine. They're not going after these people. They're not arresting them. They're not imprisoning them. That's what should be done. Because if the shoe was on the other foot, that's what would be happening to us. Look at what happened to the Tea Party and how they were targeted because they were an anti-Obama organization. It's happening all over again. History is repeating itself.
But it's repeating itself in a very vicious manner very quickly. And this is what's really hurting me. You can speak to this as a businessman is, let's say that you got fed up with it and so did 15 other people. And then you go and you guys protest. They could come here and they could come up with a reason to shut your business down. And then you get arrested. And then what happens now?
There's no doubt. And so they could come in and just take everything I got for a minute, and I would have to fight it with everything that I could, which, isn't a lot just because we work day to day. And so here it is. What do we do with all this? What do we do with all this?
And these leftists, they have nothing to worry about. Well, a lot of them are teachers, which I find, goes right along what you guys are saying.
And they're on welfare.
And on welfare. And they go out and they riot, and some of them are getting arrested. But like I did on the show yesterday, why aren't these people being charged with treason and sedition? It makes no sense. That's what those. Why would people put laws on the books and then refuse to use those laws? It's not like one person put those laws on there. It was voted on. Those are big laws.
They're huge.
Yeah. Go ahead.
The only thing I could think of is a lot of these people are afraid to say anything or do anything because they might get labeled as prejudiced. I mean, that's all I could really. If you say the wrong,
that's the people that go along with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just so we can clarify something, prejudice these days is called racism. And racism is a strong word that I was never raised with, to be honest with you.
Same here.
My parents never raised me with racism. And now I'm a racist because I'm white.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
Yeah, I know. Well, the whole skin color, I think I told this story before on here. I was in San Diego. This is when I was going to college. I was out there, not when I was a SEAL. And I was in a Jeep, and this black guy pulls up next to me on a, big freaking bike. And he was laughing. We were laughing with each other because we're at a stoplight, and he was saying 2 wheels are safer than 4. I was saying, oh, 4 wheels are safer than 2 because I didn't have a top on the Jeep. The light turns green. We both say goodbye. He takes off because back then everybody was happy in San Diego. He turns left, and he drives like a jackass. He starts swerving in and out of cars. He hits, I think he was drunk. He hit a car, flipped, car ran over him. It was devastating. I ran up there. I don't even know if the guy lived, but he was skinned. I mean, he just had road rash beyond belief. And I remember sitting here while I'm, praying for the guy and we're waiting on the ambulance to get there, thinking that, man, there really, really is, because I'd never seen that until then. There really is no difference once you get past a little microdermis on your
fact. That's
on your arm.
100% fact.
Because if I road rash, I'm going to look the same exact. It's just another way to judge people.
I employ a lot of people of all races, and each one of them means so much to me. It's not even funny. And I don't even consider the color of their skin when I hire them, when I fire them, when I do anything with my world at all.
Yeah.
And so it's very frustrating to even hear the term. It's very frustrating.
Which one thing I will say is that, and they've proven this, that black guys have about 10 to 15% more testosterone, which I'm not racist for that. I'm jealous. I wish I had it. But their life expectancy is a little shorter.
Fortunately, some of us can get it by artificial means.
Yeah. I could make so many jokes about that right now.
There's a pill for everything, Brian.
That is correct. Speaking of little blue pills, Paul, what's your take?
When people listen to this, they're going to be like, how did they mix in this conversation? I was saying earlier, we should all take a half a pill of Ambien and see how far we can make it through this show before we all fall asleep. That would have been funny. But we didn't do that. We're all completely sober.
Wait, I didn't get the memo that we weren't doing it.
Oh, So, Paul, let's switch conversation a little bit, okay? Because I want this to be a little bit more than news. I talk about this crap every day. You have seen a UFO. We got to have Tommy on here sometime, Brian.
Yes.
Tommy
yes,
Gunn.
I agree.
A good friend of ours. Let me tell this story real quick, and then I'll let you talk about that. So a good friend of Brian and I, we met him at SHOT Show. So SHOT Show every year, I don't know if they're having it this year, but every year in Vegas, and it's ran by complete jackasses. I don't like them.
Leftists.
Is it ran by leftists? SHOT
They're
Show?
from Connecticut.
Well, interesting. Well, they're not nice to everybody in the firearm industry, which I find very interesting because if it wasn't for the firearms industry, they wouldn't exist. But yet they're total turds to everybody. And so anyway, that was a side note caveat because they really screwed us over out of a lot of money last year, a lot of people. But so at the same time SHOT Show is going on, it's like the mobs. It really should be called the Mafia Weekend because they have guns. The cement convention is there, the biggest cement convention, and then the porn industry has their convention all at the same time. So we're walking through there, and I had watched a video on YouTube, okay, before you get any thought in your head, about I was looking for RVs, and I was going to buy an RV, which I got one, and I saw this guy who built this RV out of a big military deuce and a half, and it was Tommy. And he actually has another name, but his professional name is Tommy Gunn. And so when we went over to the Hard Rock Cafe that same weekend, we were going to go eat. Every year we would go and eat oysters and also,
yep.
and at this one incredible place. It's gone now.
We would ironically go to the Raw Bar at the Adult Video Awards.
Yeah. So we were there, and this, here comes Tommy Gunn walking by, and I didn't even know his name at that point, but I was like, hey, and I looked at him, I said, can I ask you a question? Of course, he thought I was some kind of porn fan or whatever, and I said, hey, I saw a video with you. He gave me the same look you probably were had in your face there a second ago. I said, it was on YouTube where you built a big RV out of a deuce and a half, and he just lit up. We talked for probably 2-3 hours that night about
I think longer than that. We were there for
all
like
night.
6 hours.
Yeah. And so we kept in touch with Tommy. We came back the next week or the next year, and we all met up again. And I'm telling you, his life story, I got to have him on here sometime to talk about his life story. It is tragic and amazing. And he actually has started a podcast right now, and we're still working on getting that up there. But it's just an amazing guy. So anyway.
He's very insightful, too. He has a very different look at life and things like that. And he's not
He's not what you would think.
He's not anything like people would expect at all.
You don't look at this guy and go, this guy's a porn star. I mean, one interesting caveat about a lot of the videos that he's been in, he's built all the sets for these things.
And the costumes.
Outfits. Sewed the costumes. I mean, the guy is talented beyond belief. And anyway, I don't remember how I got on that story, but it was, how was I?
You were talking to Paul.
Okay. So Tom, yeah.
And he looks like a porn star.
That's what it is. So I know what it was now. Tommy is big into UFOs, and he goes to Burning Man every year and all this stuff. But you've actually seen a UFO.
I've seen several.
And we're in an area here in Sedona, which I didn't know this on the way up here. They start telling me this stuff, that it is, there's some weird stuff that goes on up here. So, I mean, like you said, it has more UFO sightings than anything else.
That's correct. There's just not an explanation for that phenomenon.
Yeah.
So
interesting. Now, you were telling us about if you want to tell that story about where you used to live.
Oh yeah, sure.
That's a fascinating. And you've seen the UFOs too, but we don't really know what they are. I mean, we're kind of crunched into an area where there's a lot of military activity. It could be planes going in different directions with afterburners. There's a lot of things it could be.
Absolutely.
But this story has nothing to do with the military.
No.
And tell her, you've lived up here for 16 years.
Yeah, ish.
So just kind of give a rundown about what it is about Sedona that's so weird.
Okay, so for me, Sedona was weird first because I moved here because I wanted to be close to my father.
And you weren't in porn, right?
Well.
Oh, wow, that was a big pause.
Not professional.
No, not at all.
Okay, so go ahead.
So we moved here with our family. We had 6 kids, and we moved here a number
Are you
of years
Mormon?
ago. Nope.
Wow.
We still got 6 kids.
Catholic?
Nope.
Wow, you just like to have kids.
We had those.
It gets cold up here.
It gets cold.
No,
boring.
Not really.
Go ahead.
Anyway, we had a house we had rented up here. It was a brand new house, so we rented it and had an experience inside the house where through a bay window in our master bedroom there was a light that came through, and lights would always wake me up. So I woke up and spotted this light, and I looked over and saw sighting.
What do they call it?
Apparition.
Yeah.
Apparition of a young male Indian boy sitting at a fire, and it was very interesting to me.
And was he off in the distance, or was it like reflecting on the window?
Like it was right there. It was right there in
but
the
outside.
room.
Oh, in the room.
In the room. Yeah,
in the
it was
room.
in the bay window though, so it was like in a spot in the room.
Almost like a hologram.
Indeed. Yeah, exactly.
This reminds me when Eddie Murphy would always say about, get out, and they would leave if it was black people, but white people would sit there and stay.
It was definitely like a Star Wars
So you
thing.
stayed.
Star Wars.
Yeah.
Let's throw the thing up in the air.
And was it life size or small?
No, it was life size.
Wow.
100%. And I thought I was seeing things, and so I woke my wife up like I'm seeing things. And she saw it too. So it was very interesting at that point.
And you described it as the color.
The color was like a bluish white. It was just a blue light in the room.
Wow.
So it was pretty incredible, very incredible.
And stuff like that happens in Sedona
all the time. Yeah, past that, through that bay window, we would see boys running through.
Like Indians or just kids?
Indian boys, Indian children running through the bay window. So it was very interesting.
Wow. We should go to that place. We should go now.
I know, right? I would love to rent that house again just to sit and watch because I could show it to all of you.
Paul's all freaking, interesting.
I can show you the address.
So, but what do you think, and what's the consensus on what this is that happens up here? So we're a mile up. We are north of Phoenix.
Yes.
And, what is the consensus of what this is?
So there's a lot of energy in this place.
Why? What's the energy from?
To be honest with you, I don't know. 100%, I don't know. But the people that are here, there are so many people that come in from all over the world here, and I think a lot of the energy comes from those people. Mm-hmm. And that's just my frank answer.
Or it could be a response to them being here as well.
For sure. So when you come to a spot, when you take yourself someplace and you share your space with somebody else and speak with people, I think that you leave something with them. I do believe that with all my heart. So here, it's a very touristy thing, and that's what people do. They just leave something left over for themselves.
But this area has been odd for thousands of years. It's not just recently.
No, not at all.
How would you know it's been odd for thousands of years?
I read history books.
So for thousands of years.
That's correct. Thousands.
How do we know it's been odd for thousands of years?
Where's
the recorded history for 1,000 years?
From the Native Americans in the area.
Oh, okay.
So the tribes have passed on the oral traditions and history of what has happened in this area.
And then we have what we call woo-woos.
What is
and
a woo-woo?
They bring their life into everything.
What is a woo-woo?
Well, I would consider them, hopefully I'm not speaking way out of term, but like more.
Well,
or
nobody
less,
would know. Go ahead.
Yeah, all right. A leftist type person that just doesn't understand what reality is.
Gotcha.
100%. And sometimes they'll spin, stories off of that.
Oh, I see.
The past part of that is there is reality to a lot of what they make fruit to.
Yeah. You said that there's one place where people go and they see stuff out in like there's certain areas you go and people see stuff out there.
Yeah, there's a vortexes around here, and you can look them up online. And so there's draws to those, but I've been at a couple myself where it just takes your energy down. You gotta stop for a minute and think about it, And so I think the reality is that stuff is real. I don't know if it's the ground, I don't know if it's the space, I don't know what it is, but yes, it's real.
Brian, you didn't see a UFO, but you saw a FU, right?
I suppose so.
I suppose so. Have you ever seen a UFO, Derik?
No, I have not.
Such a simple guy. It's like, can you just elaborate on that a little bit? Like,
the only thing odd I've ever seen is working at one of my VFW posts. There's being there in the middle of the night. There's odd things that have happened, but I can't really say what it was.
Well, that's going to drive everybody crazy. So he went from no to selling something that's going to drive everybody crazy. I know a guy. I was in Ranger School. I don't know if he listens to this or not, but he was one of the old guard from the Tomb of the Unknown Soldiers. And most people don't know that at night when nobody's there, they're still walking the tomb. These guys walk it 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. But when you're on probation, you're also learning the cemetery. So at night, only in the military would they come up with stuff like this just to crush people. They send these guys, they give them assignments. They say, you got to go find, this individual, and they take a piece of paper and they use a pencil to rub off the name to show that they've been there. And then they run back and show it. And then they give them another assignment. So it's like PT all night doing this stuff. And he said often they would feel stuff like somebody touched their back or flicked them, or they just feel like somebody's there and they turn around, nobody's there. And he said it happened often.
I've had that happen often when I'm sleeping in the same home with Paul.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Poor Paul.
I've always wondered about it.
But Paul is standing there when you turn around. It's not like an apparition.
I could clearly see
He's
it.
like, why? So here's a good story. I don't really talk about my stepdad too much. This is not about a ghost, but my friend Martin, what an incredible guy. When I was training to go in the SEAL teams, Martin was in architecture school. This is in Arkansas. And I was training to get a slot for the SEAL teams. And I don't know why I'm telling this story, but Martin, I always used to say, why don't you go in the military or try to do something? He'd be like, nah, I don't want to go. So one day after I was already in, he and another guy on a whim, just for a joke, went and took the officer's flight test for the Navy, and he passed it. He gets a pilot slot, and he has this storied career, just retired. I mean, the guy was flying, I think he flew in Top Gun. He flew F-16s in the Navy, which, most people don't know they do have F-16s, but they're for adversary. He did all this incredible career, over 20 years flying for the Navy, all on a whim. But anyway, he called one time when I was in college. Remember those the wireless phones that you used to have at home? You still had landline, but it was a wireless. Cordless, but they had the antenna that kind of stuck out. And my stepdad, Jim, he is a no-nonsense guy. He comes in, and I'm asleep, and he pokes me in the neck with the phone and says, You got to call. So Martin, now whenever I see Martin, first thing he says to me is, you got to call. Okay, maybe that wasn't as funny as I thought it was going to be, but it was good. What do you guys say, Paul? You have a call.
I'm on hold from the previous comment that Brian made.
He took offense to that. So what else about this place? What are the good things about Sedona? I mean, are there any friendly spirits out here? Is there any?
Absolutely. So there's so many good.
Is there
people.
good energy out here?
There's absolute good energy. So the good energy here is just like a fantastic thing that rolls around you every day as you go out into shopping, moving around into the touristy spots, and it's a wonderful spot to come and visit. I mean,
I noticed Brian he keeps being drawn over to this. It looks like a little cabin right over here, and it turns out there's big cocks over in there. Roosters, that is. Yep. There's big roosters over there.
There's 2 small ones and 1 big one.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. I was merely curious.
There's a really big one right there.
Oh, yeah, that great big. I'm looking where is it? It's right there. Huge, big, giant rooster right there.
It's got a big red head, too.
It does.
All right, stop. So
why are we talking about cocks, man?
I don't know. Because Brian's on the show. My mom's going to listen to this, and they're going to be like, oh, my Lord. We're talking about roosters here and chihuahuas. There's a chihuahua that licked my toe a minute ago running around here somewhere.
Right there.
She's right here.
Yeah. She loves the light.
Poor little thing. Brian's going to blind her. Brian, who was pissed at Paul for ruining his night vision earlier with the flashlight, is now relentlessly blasting the chihuahua with a flashlight. And we're at a mile up. And I don't know exactly how to explain it. I mean, even though in Sedona, in this area in Arizona, even though you are somewhere where there might be homes and stuff, you're still in the middle of nowhere.
Indeed. Yeah. No, we're in wine country and trail country and hiking country, and there's so much to do here. It's incredible.
Right on the Oak Creek also.
Indeed.
What is that?
River.
Oak. What is it?
Oak Creek.
Oh, is Oak?
Oak Creek. Yeah.
Interesting.
And the Verde River.
And what Indian tribes are here? Like back in the day, what Indian tribes were the warrior tribes here that own this area?
Apache
and Navajo.
And we're not far from where Geronimo was.
We are
Is it Geronimo that was captured up here?
No,
not Geronimo.
Not
Who was it that was captured? What Indian? We were just talking about him earlier on the way here.
We were talking about Geronimo, but the general
he actually turned himself in.
Yeah, the general who apprehended Geronimo, General Crook. Yeah, was he launched out of Camp Verde here, and went from Camp Verde, I believe, southeast to apprehend Geronimo. Geronimo was more in the Superstition Mountain area, closer to where I live.
But I thought he wasn't. He didn't turn himself in. He was held up by where I was at one time for that prepper convention. It was all the way up there. They have a jail up there.
Well, so that whole Superstition area and everything going north from there was their operating territory back in the day. It goes Superstition Mountains into the White Mountains, I believe, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Derik, 13 feet away from the microphone.
So there was going to say something else about that. Let me think of what it was.
I have somebody that you should chat with that would actually give you a lot of history into that. He is an Apache, and a warrior Apache, and he would be somebody that could give you a lot more in-depth history because he is comes from a very long lineage of warriors within the nation.
That'd be cool. And by the way, in case you didn't know this, because we got such good, I brought my equipment with me. We're outside, and it's 1 in the morning, which is 1, 2, 3. That'd be 3 in the morning in New York. So it's 1 in the morning here, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful out here.
4 in the morning.
4 in the morning. What?
It's 3 hours.
Oh yeah. I don't know why. How did I get 3?
Did you snort the Ambien?
No, I haven't taken my Ambien yet. But listen, my math has never been that strong. I grew up in Arkansas, where they may or may not teach you math. I don't know. Let's see what else. I tell you what. Let's take a break real quick, and we'll come back. We'll figure out something else to talk about, and then I hope this is as entertaining as it is fun doing this show. But stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hey, this is Jonathan Gilliam. What the heck was that? I got an email right at the same time. Okay, let's start. I'm not going to cut it. Let's start it over. Okay, ready? Hey, this is Jonathan Gilliam. You are obviously listening to my show, as is all the fellas here. And I want to tell you about my book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival. It's a best-selling book, and you need to get it. What this book is all about is it shows you how to look at yourself from the attacker's point of view. Once you understand who could attack you, why they would attack you, where, when, and how, all of a sudden, you see things from a completely different perspective. And once you get that perspective, what happens is it allows you to understand your vulnerabilities, the avenue of approach that these attackers can take, and the mitigation strategies that you can come up with to prevent these attacks. They just pop out. So it's the attacker-defender technique. Learn how the attacker thinks, look at yourself, and literally do a threat assessment or a target package on yourself, and then turn around and assess your defenses. Now, for the children, The Adventures of Team Little Bigs, a parent's book for children. And what that is a book of pictures with these lessons of security, awareness, and communication built in. And the parent goes to teamlittlebigs.com and they get the lesson plans that they apply to the book. So you give the book to the children, the parent gets the lesson plans, and also learning disabled children can use these as well. And the teacher or the parent can work with the children to teach them these very important lessons. So let me go over this one more time. Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival. It's got 2 workbooks that go with it, the Threat Assessment, Defense Assessment workbook, and The Adventures of Team Little Bigs, a parent's book for children. All of it put together can help you secure your homeland, your own home, your family, your city. Go check them out, and let's get back to this show. All right, so out of a show of hands of everybody here, this is going to be funny. Who has tattoos out of everybody here? I know Brian does. You got any tattoos? Nope. Tattoos? Wow. Paul? No. You don't know about that one on your back? Oh, the lower back tattoo? You didn't know you had that. He's got a big Corvette symbol on his lower back. Brian, so you've got tattoos.
I do.
I've never got. I figured you guys would have tattoos. This is very interesting because normally everybody gets tattoos. I knew you had them before you even took your shirt off because you're from Jersey, and everybody from Jersey has tattoos. That's just a thing. How did you choose your tattoos, and how bad did it hurt if I get a tattoo? I've always thought about that. Everybody in my platoon had tattoo when I was in the Navy, but
so really the only one that hurt was the first one that I got. And it really only hurt on the inside, almost armpit area of the arm. You can actually see where the tears washed away a little bit of color. Because it was definitely a little bit more painful. I got that when I was 17. I drew it in high school. And then...
you drew your own tribal tattoo. It's a
combination of tribal and a razor wire.
You're all Italian?
So mostly Italian.
Yeah. So is Guido, is that racist to call you Guido?
Guinea.
Yeah, but no, is Guido racist? Because in TV shows they call you Guido. So you're so Guido that you designed your own tribal barbed wire tattoo. You're like a big Italian Pamela Anderson.
Almost. I'm looking for my Tommy Lee.
Oh, you found her. She's at home waiting for you to get home. So, and your other one, how did that? I'm not talking about anything that anybody may be interested in, but go ahead, tell us how do you got the other one?
So the other ones are writing in languages other than English so that I know what they are.
And those are prison tattoos. So somebody did that in the prison.
That would be largely incorrect.
And what's interesting, the other thing interesting about you is you were, a prison. What do you guys call yourself here? I mean, is it prison guard or corrections officer?
Yeah. It's pretty much all the same thing. However, they have that dumb guard thing.
Yeah.
So,
but I don't know if these guys have realized it. When you look at Brian's face, he has a natural teardrop under his eye, which
that's from soul snatching.
Soul snatching. That's what that's from. Okay, real quick before we go ahead and close off the show, because we're now at 49 minutes, and I know people are like, "What in the world am I listening to?" So we're trying to figure out what else to talk about here, but Brian just brought up something that's really cool about this area. Let me tell you something about Arizona. There's a lot of interesting things about this place. It reminds me of that show on Netflix, Hell on Wheels, where They're building the railroad and just all the adventure and stuff. This is a very adventurous place. But you said right down the road is a place. Tell us about that place.
Right down the road is a city called Jerome, and it's kind of like built into the side of a mountain. And right next to Jerome is where basically the world supply of copper was extracted out of the earth through the mines for many years, like turn of the century to the 1940s or 50s. And
was it also the highest concentration of meth addicts that were trying to steal the copper and sell it like today?
I don't know how much meth was available then. Thank you, Chris.
Go ahead.
But it was something to the tune of, in the time when they were extracting the copper ore out, it's like $6 million a day they were getting out of that mine, which is extraordinary.
This is obviously going to be the lowest rated show I've ever done. It's fun. It's definitely fun. That is a credible story. What else? What else is around here? What if people are going to come here a mile up in the air in Sedona where there's vortexes, blue Indians, and spacecraft all over? What else is here?
There is so much here. You have to come and see it because there's so much river activity. When you go back to Jerome, what Brian was just talking about, there is the Halloween festivals that are just unbelievable. Walking through the cemetery up there, the Jerome Hotel.
The haunted, it used to be a mental institution. Exactly. They converted it into a hotel.
Exactly.
Where they tortured people that were inhabited there at that time.
Yeah. And so there is so much to do just in Jerome. There's the old whorehouses and stuff you can go through.
Now, when you say old whorehouses, those aren't whorehouses with elderly people in it.
That's all Jerome was at one point. It was just a whorehouse.
Basically, he's right.
It's a mental institute and whorehouses.
What a combination.
It's true.
Wow. What is it now?
Now it's a great tourist area with lots of restaurants and lots of just lovely, lovely stuff. There's wine tasting. There's great meet and greets that happen up there. There's walking parks that you can do. There's so much you can do up there.
One thing I'll throw in there is if you remember the band Tool, Maynard has his wineries all through here. So Cottonwood, Jerome, he's got, was it Merkin Vineyards?
Merkin, yeah.
Yep. So he's kind of dominated this area and revitalized it. He's put a lot of money into the cities around here and made them come back to life to what they used to be.
He really has. And he's in Old Town Cottonwood as well. So he's got places like all over the spot around here. So for sure, there's a lot that has to do with that.
I'm going to switch back real quick to politics. I want to ask you guys if you've been keeping up with the potential pick for and we'll end it here with the potential pick for Supreme Court Justice Connie Barrett. I really like her. I like what she stands for. I'd really like to meet her. Out of all the people who have been chosen for justices in the Supreme Court, she just, there's several reasons why I think she's pretty amazing. One, she just looks like somebody who is a no-nonsense person. She's got 7 kids, still was able to maintain being a judge, and she's a Catholic and a staunch conservative, which I think you can be a conservative and not be. Well, the reality is I think she's a constitutionalist. I think we put the word conservative in front of constitutionalist, and I think she's probably a constitutionalist. But do you guys have an opinion on that at all? Anybody?
Well, Brian and I just had dinner with a judge that
I was there.
Yeah, he put. Well, we were talking about that. So this judge was half of the people, 50 people that is in the selection for Supreme Court justice. According to this judge, said we're in good hands. We're in very good hands with these picks. So any one of those 50 candidates are really constitutional lawyers, and he assured us of that, as if you remember that. So I'm pretty confident of that based on what this judge had said for us.
That's pretty awesome because especially when their peers think that they're good people, but I think it's just the most important thing that we have because as we saw with John Roberts, somebody who's appointed by the Republican Party is not necessarily somebody who is a constitutionalist. He's a big letdown.
I agree. He's turned on us several times recently, which is just very suspect because he was usually the vote that would count and turn it to the right, and now it doesn't seem to be that way anymore.
Yeah. I was looking at a quote by or a tweet. There's two tweets that Amy Klobuchar put out, and it says the first one: the people pick the president nominates the justice. That is how it works. And I was like, did she really just tweet that? That's really responsible for her to tweet it. But then she immediately tweeted another one afterward, and it says people are voting right now because people are mailing in votes, which I totally disagree with. I don't think there's any need for it, and I think we could either do it over a 3-day period or they could even do it on the same day. I just don't think there's a need for this. But she says people are voting right now to pick our president. That president should pick the next Supreme Court justice. And so I tweeted back, as did a lot of people, that last I checked, we already have a president named Donald J. Trump, and he is still serving until January 20th, regardless of whether he gets elected or not. The Constitution, which you're obviously not familiar with, which she would know this if she was familiar with the Constitution, doesn't put the authority into the next president until they are sworn in office. So what's your point? I mean, this is how ridiculously stupid that these people are, to a point where, you give a 15-year-old a course on the Constitution, and they would be able to figure out that these people, whether it's the Electoral College or trying to take the authority away from the president before he gets elected, before the election is up, these people, it is, again, just what we started with, but it is a crazy game that they're playing of lies and tricks.
Last I checked, Donald Trump was still president.
Yeah.
And his duty is to nominate the next Supreme Court justice.
Now, as a businessman here in Arizona, how's it been with Donald Trump as your president versus Barack Obama?
Oh, it's been way better.
Yeah.
100% better.
The employee stuff, I know it would be with Obamacare, if you had more than, I don't know how many, like 10 employees or something?
It was more than 50 that you had to hit the Obamacare thing, but everybody's on the insurance
I thought it was less than that, but go ahead.
It was more than 50 from what I was told. So, but that by itself, everybody's looking for that. That's what they want. They want that care because it costs now, the average guy that makes, $20 an hour, it costs him $1,800 a month, especially if he's over 45 years old. And how do you afford that? That's another mortgage payment.
The bad thing about healthcare is not that it needs to be free, but it needs to be cheaper. I have a friend who worked in a hospital in Washington State, and like a good SEAL, he got out and became a physician assistant, and he tried to help. His goal was to get people through the emergency room because he was an emergency room physician assistant, and he saw there was this huge backlog of people waiting. And if you've been in an emergency room, it's like that a lot of the times. And so he devised this system, and the hospitals, the emergency room was like, oh wow, that's actually a pretty good system. Because that's what we do as SEALs. We think and we build these systems. And so they developed a system to get people through quickly. Well, unfortunately for him, what he developed actually took away from the money that some of these doctors would make, because a lot of the times the doctors will make a patient sit there in the room until they can walk up there, look at their chart, sign it, and then walk off, and the doctor makes $700. So although they got to a point where the average wait time in that emergency room was 20 minutes, he got fired.
Well,
he got fired because he did so well, because these doctors weren't able to just walk in and rip people off for $700, or the insurance companies. And that's what makes everything expensive.
That's what makes everything expensive.
In the words of a very intelligent doctor that we all know, there is a difference between health care.
You can say it. Lucarini said that on here. Dr. Lucarini, I've had him on here.
That's right.
There's a difference between what?
Health care and health insurance.
Yeah.
So there's people should learn the difference.
Yeah.
Well, back in the day when I first started in my industry, first of all, plumbing, way back in the 90s at this point, it was I got offered insurance. My insurance was $200 a month if I added my children, which at that point I only had two, and my wife, I was at $300 a month. What changed? What changed so much? And that was fantastic health care. We could go to the doctor and get something for a cold or whatever, some antibiotics, whatever. Right. And now it's $1,800 a month, and you're going to pay for it anyway. You're going to pay more on top of that because the The deductible is $8,000, $10,000, $12,000, whatever it is at this point.
And what happened to house calls? I know doctors have actually started making some house calls.
That is a fact.
But I think that touch actually went away, along with the doctors' clinics, but it's just too expensive. And if you don't have health insurance, the other thing I've had happen to me recently is they say, oh, we have a reduced payment for somebody who doesn't have insurance, and then you still get the bill, and then you got to spend months trying to fight this bill. It's happened to me several times in different locations, and it's a big game of fraud. Medical care, and I learned this in the FBI, is a big game of fraud.
It is.
That's 100%. The way they make their money.
It is.
Kind of like plumbing.
Yep.
Just like plumbing.
Just like plumbing. Just like car. When you work on a car, like plumbing, for instance, though, I know for a fact they walk in there and they say, oh, yeah, you need to do this, this, and this, when all they had to really do was tighten this one thing. It's like, but if you don't know about plumbing, you're at a loss as to what works and what fits and what doesn't. So.
Absolutely. And you don't want to leak.
Yeah, you don't want to leak.
But did the problem get fixed is the question. If it gets fixed, then you're paying for a solution to your problem.
Or in the cars, a lot of times garages will fix a problem and then they'll tweak something else that causes another problem.
That's just unethical.
But look at healthcare, same way.
Same way.
I find that the majority of problems that we have in this nation are due to scammers and politicians that are not qualified to be in their job, or they're narcissists. We have a massive, I don't know if you guys have noticed, everybody here is not a narcissist. I mean, we're good guys. We care about people, but it is rampant. Narcissism is probably the most destructive behavior that I've ever seen, where it's just overtaken. It's like Satan went through and just put narcissist pixie dust all over the place, and people are just addicted to themselves now.
Yep, just stop looking in the mirror. You'll be fine.
Why care about other people when you can care about yourself?
Yeah, I guess. Well, okay, maybe one of us is a narcissist here.
That's not my thinking.
Okay, so here's one other headline that I want to bring up. It says, Trump sued over Nevada ballots tossed over lack of fraud proof. I mean, so evidently you have to wait for the fraud to happen that we all know has happened in the past for these mail-in ballots, according to the court system in Nevada, which is...
It's a blue state.
Yeah, it's a blue corrupts. Everywhere the blue is, this is happening. I want to get I want to ask a question, and I want you guys to give me your opinion on this. You don't have to say your names when you give the opinion or whatever, but there's two questions. Are we going to go to civil war?
Good God, I hope not, but I think the possibility is definitely on the horizon.
Yes, without a doubt.
Personally, I'd like to see the citizenry stand toe-to-toe.
Or are we going to go to civil war?
Side
That's
by side.
That's the next question. Do you think we're going to go to civil war?
Right. So I think I would like to see the...
No, not what you like. Do you think we are going to go to civil war? That's the question.
I think so, but I think it's going to be...
But that's the next question.
Okay.
There's a reason why I want to ask you this. What do you think, Paul?
No, I do not.
No. Okay. Since he said no, why do you think we won't go to civil war?
I think a lot of it is just oral flatulence on the other side, and
I'm going to use that in conversations now. Oral flatulence.
If it comes up to a stand-up fight, they don't have what it takes for veterans like you and I.
But do we have what it takes? Because yes, we have the training, but are we going to step out? Are people going to step out and actually do something? Because here's my fear: we're all associated with law enforcement. In some way, shape, or form, but is law enforcement going to allow that to happen, or are they going to get in there? Because what happened in Fort Collins, Colorado, they had a Back the Blue rally. Antifa showed up, started a fight. The guys beat the crap out of Antifa, and they got arrested.
Well, I think what you're going to see is enough people fed up with it, and I think it will come up to the point where they'll make a stand. Mm-hmm. But I don't think the other side will go ahead and try to threaten anybody, because they just don't have the intestinal fortitude to bring it to fruition.
Mm. Okay, the next question I had, this is the last one, is so everybody here but Paul, and that's a good point. You're bringing up a valid point there. My problem with this is that, tactically speaking, I don't think that law enforcement is being allowed, in some cases, just isn't doing the job that they're there to do. The Attorney General and the DOJ and the FBI, which I talked about yesterday, are not looking at these people and charging them with sedition and treason. They're allowing for a system of people who've been planning and planning for years, and this has gone on all over the world throughout history, and they're moving now. It consistently happens. I do believe, and I've said this before, I do believe it's related to Satan. I do believe that a lot of the people and their actions, because we were talking about this earlier, everybody watches what's happening in Portland. They say, those people are crazy. Or they watch them in Chicago and they're screaming, they're crazy. Or they see the videos on television when Ruth Bader Ginsburg died and they're yelling like idiots and they're crazy. When crazy is widespread and it's coordinated, there's something up with that. Like crazy people, you all have dealt with crazy people, whether in law enforcement, in the prison system, or as a business person, you've dealt with crazy people. Crazy is sporadic and erratic. And when it's organized and coordinated, there's something else up there, especially when it's nationwide. To me, it seems demonic. It seems satanic. And I think things are happening to people that they don't even realize are happening. That's why you see people who are like, I thought that was a good politician. All of a sudden, they change. They may have been good before, but I think things are happening to these people that are changing them. So with that being said, it's a real shame because the constitutionalists, the people that love this nation, are unable to coordinate. They're just not coordinating because they're afraid of what might happen. But if we were, as a tactician, I always say that if you have the ability to go on offense, you should go on offense and you should eliminate the enemy. Do you think that that would be possible in this day and age in the way things are stacked against us? If enough people got together, could they stop this? Not the police, not the DOJ, not to overthrow the government, but to stop this, what was subversive and now is an overt movement to overthrow our government. Is that not what the people should be doing?
I 100% agree that that's what the people should be doing. And the way I look at it, the map, the way you laid it out, when we look at how we've done this, the outer borders of our country, the ports of our country, the major ports of our country are the ones that are most affected at this point. They're stopping the flow. They're
I often wonder
squeezing.
when we're looking at the riots in those cities, what else is happening in that city?
Exactly. It's all on the borders. It's all on the borders of this country, whether it's south, north, east, west. It's all on the borders of this country. Yeah. That's the major places that this is happening. And each one of these, even if they're a little bit down in or a little bit around that, they're all there. And so 100% I agree.
If they're that organized and they're causing that much destruction and breaking that many laws, committing arson, numerous other felonies.
All those laws are being committed for the furtherance of treason.
Correct. So that means that those people who are doing that become insurgents. That's what they are, plain and simple.
I agree.
Insurgents need to be dealt with. And the way that we deal with insurgents is they go bye-bye.
Yeah.
And that's it.
What do you think?
Absolutely. I'm surprised we haven't gone that far already. I don't know why people haven't started talking about it, haven't started organizing, haven't started doing something about taking their cities back. They're letting people get away with stuff that in the olden days they would have been locked up for. They'd have been in prison, they'd have been arrested, they'd have been tried, it'd have been a done deal.
Yeah.
We should have already organized something, but I don't know. Maybe they're afraid to be called racist or bad people or whatever for standing up for their city, but they need to start stepping up.
Brian, guess who I am? I'm gonna do my impersonation of Derik. So anyway, this is what I feel. What I feel about that.
Sorry,
I don't know what part is.
Sorry, I'm too far away from the mic. I'm learning.
It's okay, Derik. All right, don't worry about it.
13 feet away from the mic is the new rule.
Yeah, you don't have to be 6 feet away from the mic. It's okay. Yeah, that's the way you're supposed to be on there. Talk in that mic just like you were up there.
Coffee, I'm right here now.
See, totally different.
Much better. Okay. I heard you much clearer.
Paul, did you answered right? Yeah. Yeah. So let's let Paul. I want to finish with Paul because Paul's like the rational guy out of all of us here.
Well, we had a excellent ride along with Sheriff Mark Lamb, and he talked about leadership. And if you look at the strongholds that we have in this country, we have very strong leadership. And you don't see the burning, the rioting, the looting. You don't see that in those jurisdictions. They're happening in liberal jurisdictions, and they're being exposed for it. And I think at the end of the day, when we're talking about the average citizen, they're fed up with it. They're upset with it. And I think this is going, as a political ploy, is going to backfire in everybody's face. And I think there's a calm that's going to become before the storm. So, or vice versa. Mm-hmm. So I have faith in that. Evil never wins at the end of the day. So I believe that there's divine intervention that's going to be happening on this country. For how long, who knows? But I believe that there's going to be a revival very soon of good. And because I see like business owners, they're sick of this. We're talking about how many people have been devastated from these businesses just being totally wiped out. And the logic on the other side is, well, you got insurance, you'll be all right. Well, no, they've just been wiped out and they're sick of it. So I think the political winds are going to swing, and I think eventually more people, law-abiding citizen, will jump into the situation. I think arrests will be made, and people are going to go to jail or prison, and they're going to be exposed. Yeah. I have full faith and confidence in that.
I can't say I have full faith and confidence. I like your thought process. I will tell you that when it comes to the reality of the way things are in this nation right now, I have to throttle it back, because I like to be a positive person, but I have to be a realist. I have to be a realist in this situation, because things are so weird, and the way things are occurring in this country are so strange that I have to give pause before I give positivity. I know it sounds like kind of like a Debbie Downer, but I think because of this smartphone, because of social media, the lies, if it comes from an influencer or comes from media, and this is what people don't realize, you can go on social media and you can talk to people who don't know crap, or you can go turn on your TV and you can listen to people who know just as little as the people on social media, but they're looked at as somebody who knows because they're on television. I've been there. I've seen it. It's you would be totally shocked if you realize who these people are and the act of what they do. They're just good at what they do. So I think, go ahead.
Well, if we're talking, there's a meme out there with Chris Farley, and he's talking about, hey, Hillary was winning all day long on the last election until the grownups showed up from work and voted.
Right.
And then look what happened. So again, I think we're in the same predicament. I mean, who gets to riot for 90 days and how do you sustain that?
Right.
So
the grownups need to step forward.
Yeah. And I think they're going to. I really think they're going to come out in droves and vote for Trump, because we're seeing Democrats flee the Democratic Party and come and vote on, because they're saying, this is just bizarre behavior and it's getting us nowhere.
I got one more question for you guys. How long, let's say the elections happen, whether the president wins or not, because this president's the best thing about Washington, D.C. right now. It's not Bill Barr, as I talked about yesterday. It's not Durham. It's not some secret plan. The president is surrounded by the swamp. And I think regardless of whether he wins this election or not, it's going to be contested. It's going to take probably a month, maybe more, for things to figure it out, whether or not they can prove their lies or not. But in that period of time, when things start to go nuts and they start to burn, I have a feeling that over Christmas they're going to try to burn stuff down, shut stuff down, prevent people, hack computers. They're going to try to keep people from buying and celebrating Christmas. At what point do the American people, this is the real bottom line here, at what point does the American people, the adults, finally say no more? We don't care if we get arrested. We don't care. We're going to stand together as strong and as big in numbers as we can. It needs to stop. At what point do we stop that? What do you think?
I personally think that that's going to come very shortly after the election if it goes the other way. I don't think it's going to go much further than that.
Yeah.
But I don't hope it ever goes there because I do think that the adults will come out and we will have another election. What I'm actually more afraid of is the next election past this, because I have pretty much confidence in this one that the adults are going to show up and come out.
Yeah.
The thing is the adults now are going to be old enough then. What's going to happen?
Yeah. Go ahead. Get up there to the mic. Don't be afraid.
I don't know. I think it's not going to take very long after this election to figure out that they need to do something to step up to stop these riots, because these cities should have already shut this stuff down.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll take more than a month before people are going to actually act and be tired of
But
all
the
this.
people are going to, everybody I've talked to around this country are worried. They're concerned. They're saying, what do we do? But nobody, watch that, Mike, nobody is talking about actually taking the offensive and saying, stop, it's going to stop right now. Nobody's talking about that.
I think it should have already stopped, and I think the people should have already put their foot down. So my opinion is that if they haven't already, they may not.
Yeah.
They become complacent. They rely on the police. But when the police are told by leftist mayors and politicians that they can't do their job, they're more worried about their pension than they are about doing the job and abiding by the oath that they swear to.
So the people are going to have to, ultimately, I think the people are going to have to do this. There's going to have to be enough of them where they say no more.
Correct.
Paul, you get the last word.
I believe that's the. I mean, if it goes to a slugfest, then it goes to a slugfest. I personally don't believe it's going to, but I could be wrong. But if it does go to a slugfest, it's going to be a bad one.
But if it starts burning, the country starts burning, at what point, you're the rational guy here, at what point do the people, instead of saying, what do we do if it goes crazy, at what point do the adults say, this is going to stop right now? And law enforcement has to get out of our way because we're going to stop it.
I believe we started to see it when the two officers that were ambushed and then there was a barricade to not let those people in get services. Then if we see that in mass, that is when the tide is going to turn, and then it will go to guns, no doubt.
Okay. That's good. I like that. That's a good way to put this. I'll tell you what, we'll cut it there. This has been a great show, guys, and I really appreciate you guys coming on. And this is what I want you to think about this. You listen to Don Lemon, you listen to all these different people on media, you listen to Amy Klobuchar and all these politicians, and what do you hear? These people on the left, this is what they're saying. If we don't get our way, we're going to change the form of government. Now, that's no different than the people who are rioting saying we want to change the form of government. It's treason, it's sedition, and it has to stop. The question that I have for you all, and I want you to share this soundbite, this is the question. At what point do the adults in this nation step forward and say no more? When do we take the offensive? That's the question. I'm Jonathan Gilliam. This is The Experts. The truth has arrived. Peace, and we're out of here.